Well, welcome everybody. We've got Cynthia here, who is a longtime blogger like myself and lives in Atlanta. But she has recently launched a really incredible platform that I feel like me and my blog friends have been bitching about for years that we needed it to be created. So thank you to Cynthia for finally doing it. And it's called #PayMe. And it is basically a calculator to figure out what you should actually be charging based on your platform size, your audience size, the asks of everything, because there's always so many things. You plug it all in and it tells you a pretty spot on, and you can tell us how that all works. Because I've played around with it and it's pretty spot on for what I would charge or what I would be expected to be paid for campaigns. So we are going to chat today about how to turn gifted partnerships into paid. We've got several questions that you guys have sent in, all kind of in the same aspect of like how to negotiate, how to finally ask to be paid, and all those great things. So I'd love for Cynthia for you to introduce yourself and talk more about your platform, and then we'll get into some of these questions.
For sure. Yeah. No, it's great to be able to host with everyone. I've been a very early member of the Blog Societies back when it was called the Southern Blog Societies. And it was a really great way to educate myself and get introduced to the blogger sphere here in Atlanta and beyond. Definitely credit Kathy and Jessica for helping me understand being the business of a blogger. And since then, I was able to really, leave my full-time job and become a blogger full-time in 2018 and got to a point where I wasn't able to scale my business in a meaningful way without the help of having a talent manager, which I feel like is a pretty common scenario in this world where there's just too much work to find there's too much work involved in finding new work that you can no longer scale that revenue in a meaningful way. And I decided to go back to get my master's in Georgia Tech. I was like, maybe if I take more classes on marketing and operations, I can figure out how to do this better. And it was during a design thinking class when a friend asked me how much I would charge for a sponsored post for her new brand. I was like, I don't know. I've been doing this for 6 years and I still have no idea if this is the right price to charge. In my corporate career, I spent 5 years plus working in compensation consulting, pricing CEOs' salaries. So there's a very straightforward benchmarking tool that we use there. And there's a lot more resources available to corporate professionals to help them find new work. And I just didn't see that in the creator economy. So, a few years later, here we are, launched this tool, and just so happy to hear all the feedback from our creators and members saying like, this price was exactly it. Like I was able to 5x my rate overnight with the brand I was working with. This is just so great. I personally used it to price over $40,000 in work last year as a part-time creator, which was wild. And like just being
Love
able
that.
to negotiation time with the brand, I was like, bloop, bloop, bloop. Here's all the details of the campaign. And here's what I should price, send it over. And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. And so that always feels really good just to be able to see that instant gratification and instant feedback from all of our members who use it. So anyways, I'm just really excited to be here and, answer any questions that you guys have, help you understand and navigate this road from like gifted to paid, what that kind of strategy looks like, and how to make it the best session for you as well.
And tell me, I think you confirmed this, that #PayMe now has the brand contacts in there.
Oh yeah, our new app is launching soon, which will have more brand contacts, more ways to interact with the brand directly from the platform. And so my co-founder is currently building that out, which will be out soon, but we do have a Rolodex of over 400 brand contacts in our database, ranging from like Anthropologie to Home Depot, Thinkific, other educational platforms, bunch of fashion and lifestyle brands too. So it's a great place to poke around if you're looking for someone. And we keep it pretty up to date every single day to make sure that they're valid.
Awesome. And we will send an email, obviously, once this class is over, with a recording and a link to sign up, because it is membership based, but you do have, we do have a month free option for members to just kind of check it out and get a feel for it. But I think you guys will all be pretty impressed with how it kind of helps grow your business in terms of the payment factor, but also the brand contacts, which I know is such a hard part in this industry. I think it's also getting harder.
Yeah.
And that combined with a pitch template you can grab from the library, boom, boom, done. You can start securing yourself some great partnerships.
Yeah, we actually got asked by an agency recently that we were talking to, and they're like, how much does it cost to put our brand contacts in your database? And I was like, it's free. Like, I didn't know you guys,
Yes.
I was like, I didn't even know you guys wanted to put your contacts in our database. I was like, please give me all your contacts.
Well, maybe we should start charging for that.
I know, I was like, well, actually, maybe there's something here for that. Subsidize all of our members' costs some more.
I love it. Amazing. All right, so let's dive into some questions. And this is probably the most common one that I always hear is how to respond when the brand says that they have no budget, which happens a lot.
Yeah. So two things I would say about that is either they're reaching out to you on a very last minute basis, or they haven't heard some sort of value proposition from you that instills confidence that you will be able to help them reach their goals for this current marketing campaign, right? So our jobs as influencers, also as salespeople, to advocate on our own behalf. And so what I would say is you have two ways to think about this, right? How much do you want this product? Is it like a really awesome product that you want to bring into your home? Is it something that you were going to create in your content wheelhouse anyways? Do you feel good about organically talking about it? Two, keep in mind, like, you have to pay taxes on things and gifts that you get and that you share on social media. Per the IRS, technically it's considered taxable income. It's all based on ethical reporting and, you know, if whether or not you're going to report that or not. And excuse me. Another thing is, I would say, if you see this as an opportunity for future revenue growth for your business, or at least the door to open a partnership with a brand that you do want to work with, be like, look, I could fit this in. Here's what I'm thinking for this content collaboration. But then also tease in some like FOMO, like content opportunities in the future where you could really impact their sales or conversion or something. You know, this is your chance to be like, okay, they're launching this new product. This product sounds like it's going to be a pillar product for their brand. Maybe they're launching like a new brand of towel or something, just thinking about Wheezy. And now, you know, they're really gonna be pushing this new style. So it's going to be on their books for a long time. So how can I help them grow that presence? And what metrics can I send over to instill the confidence that I can sell that and push it? So this is where sending over like relevant conversion rates really help.
And that's why it's also important to have an idea, like big picture of where your business is at so that you can really sell yourself. And I think that's a part where a lot of influencers tend to struggle is the selling factor. Like you really do have to be a salesperson. And I come from a sales background, so I personally like love this part of the business. And it is about like truly selling yourself in terms of, you know, how much revenue have you driven to the business? Every Shop Style shares that information. Reward Style does not, but you at least can see your clicks and your total like commissions earned. So you can kind of guesstimate based on what their commission rate is, and providing them with that information along with like your page views, your newsletter subscribers, maybe your TikToks have recently been taking off. Like how can you add that in and to like really sell them on you and what you can offer them?
Yeah, it's always about a sales game, which is incredibly uncomfortable. Even 8 years in, I still don't feel the best about it all the time, but it's just something that you have to do in this business.
And the more you do it, the easier it does become, because it really just is like, it's almost like a script at this point. Like it's all very similar. You're just kind of swapping out brand names and numbers, and it's really very similar. So you start to get into a groove. And that's also why I always recommend pitching like on a monthly basis so that you're kind of like always moving the ball forward too. Mm-hmm. But we'll also note that like there are also just some brands who just will not pay you. Like and that's just like a reality. And so sometimes you have to also like lean into what is working. And so if you are finding that like the same brand keeps telling you no, 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 maybe try a different brand. Like, can you pivot? Can you go to their competitor and say, you know, I was using their product, but I really ended up liking yours more. I'd love to talk about why I switched or something. Like sell it to them. I actually did that once with Home Depot. Home Depot wanted to work with me on something and they were like not moving the ball. And so I reached out to Lowe's and I was like, Home Depot wants me to do this, but I'd actually really like to work with you guys instead because you're closer to my house and I use you guys more. What do you think? And they're like, oh my God, we'll do it. And they're like above and beyond. So you kind of have to play the game too on them. which
I do. Yeah, I agree with that. Like you have to pit them against each other essentially. Like there is nothing better. Like all of marketing is like trying to steal your customers,
Mhm.
like the customer base of the other brands that or you're competing with. And so being able to be that influencer swinging point, like who cares if it's 20 people? That's 20 people less who are going to be spending, you know, whatever their annual customer value is at Lowe's, like $1,700 with your brand. Like that's a huge investment for
Exactly.
you and them.
All right, so the next question was how to know when to start asking to be paid. And I'm assuming this is typically a smaller blogger who maybe isn't comfortable asking or doesn't know what number they should be at in terms of a following before they can start asking. What are your thoughts? Because I have thoughts on this too.
I don't think there's a total threshold at which you should be like, okay, I've reached X amount of followers, I should start charging. It kind of becomes like, you know, is this worth my time to do, right? Like, is what they're asking starting to make me feel uncomfortable because now I'm having to go out of my way to produce this for you guys. And while I love the product or whatever it is, I'm no longer getting just that joy from producing content for free, right? And then another kind of school of thought is like, do you have some sort of significant talent to offer right now? We have influencers with as little as 2,000 followers who are monetizing their platform per the data that they put into our database, and they're making really good money. So what is it that they offer in comparison to what these brands need, right? Like, are they expert photographers? Are they really good content producers? And there's no right time to start asking to get paid as long as you have that value offering in place. And that could come at 4 weeks, that could come at 4 years. It just depends.
I totally agree. I also think as long as you are spending time on, if there's a contract, there should be payment is usually like yes, I do things for free, but it's usually like this relationship building aspect too, where, well, I want you to gift me stuff because I want it. I know it's authentic to my platform and my audience. And I know I could probably generate revenue on my own with affiliate commission. So let's like not have a contract, but will you gift me something? And I'm sure I'll do a story, whatever. But once there's like a contract, there needs to be payment. Like they are asking you to do XYZ and create content and usually provide rights of some sort or whitelisting abilities. And you should be charging for that. Like you are worth your value, your platform, your likeness, your all of it is should be monetized 100%.
Totally agree with the contract thing. And then that reminds me of one other thing too. I have a personal policy that I don't allow my face to be in any content that a brand owns without payment. And I don't even like my face being whitelisted without like at all. So like that's a hard like boundary I have right then and there. And I won't turn those assets over without some sort of compensation.
Yeah, this is why I also say like never do the hashtag agree to terms when a brand like comments on your Instagram. Like if Madewell's like, we love your photo, we'd love to share it, comment hashtag agree. Like what you're doing is you're allowing them to whitelist your photo, not whitelist, like use it in like their media, in their website, whatever. And like you should be getting paid for that.
Yeah.
Period.
Also, those are all monitored by bots. I found the company that runs all of that for these big companies. No one will ever write you back. So like just ignore when you see those on your company. So
if anything, that should be a reason to send a DM to the brand and say, hey, I just saw that you guys commented and you really like this photo. I'd love to work with you in some capacity. I'm a huge fan of the brand. Like that could be a good opener. That's good to know that it is kind of a bot. And so there's no point in even responding within the comments.
Yeah, don't respond in the comments to that because it's all bot run.
Interesting. I did not know that. Mackenzie Ross just asked, what should be the next step if you allow a brand to use media by saying hashtag yes? You shouldn't ever say hashtag yes until you have a contract. So you should really just never say yes to those at all, period. If you have said yes in the past, they're probably just pulling it into like my guess is they're pulling it into like an Instagram feed of sorts onto their website, and that's really it. Because they don't have access to your Instagram to do whitelisting.
Yeah, my assumption with that hashtag yes response that they are just then scraping your image or that video or whatever from your feed by digital means and then uploading it to their website for like it's a relevant blouse, that this is a live customer wearing this or
Yeah.
whatever. And you're not really going to get anything out of that at all as a creator, except for now your content is on Madewell's site in a
Right.
more of like a review thing, like,
Yeah.
or they use it for social media. I mean, again, if you go read those terms, it's like, we irrevocably own this for global rights and we can do
Right.
X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And it's very predatory, and it's really a lame practice that
Totally
if you
agree.
don't read the contracts, you're going to be like, holy crap, I know this content didn't mean a lot at the time, but like now seeing it in this legal context of how
Mhm.
it's going to be used and like exploited, I don't like that.
Yeah. And also, let's say you work with a photographer and they took the photo and you did not compensate them for it, they can sue you. So this is why it's important to have a photography contract. This is why it's important to compensate photographers anytime a brand does have whitelisting or ad rights or image rights in your contract, that you should be properly compensating your photographer as well, because you technically don't own those images. Also, you have no idea where your photo might end up. It could end up on a billboard. Like I remember this actually happened with Banana Republic years ago. They were doing some sort of campaign with, I forget which agency, and people were just saying yes to everything because they were like, it's Banana Republic. It's a huge brand. I want to work with them. And I get it. But no one was reading that fine print. And it was so like early on in the blog days. And I remember a blogger walking into a Banana Republic and she was so pissed. She was like, I'm like a billboard inside the Banana Republic ad. I was not paid for it. My photographer was not paid for it. Like that is a recipe for a disaster. So, and just so everyone does know, brands are paying for image rights. Like that is standard practice. And if they're not doing it, they're, like you said, it's predatory, which is such a great word to use for that. It's exactly what's happening. So get paid for your images and also pay your photographer.
Yeah. And also be careful when you have like children who are in content too, and whether they're your own children. Currently through government legislation, they are trying to reform the Coogan's Act, which protects children from exploitation in media. And that is now being drifted over into the influencer and social media world. So, if your kid doesn't understand the meaning of consent and that they're in this photo in 15 years, when they go look back on like their portfolio of their digital life and see that they were used, technically they'll have like legal retribution to come back after you if you did not get that consent with them. So I would just be very careful about including others without their consent.
So true. What was the name of that act again? I also just asked in the comments.
The Coogan's Act, it's COOGANS.
I'll have to look that up. I'm all about, I know you and I had like a whole conversation about that.
It protects children actors, child models, and from exploitation, and their parents from spending all of their money on without saving anything for kids.
And so now they're going to include influencer stuff. I love it. Amazing. All right. So how do you ask to be paid? So someone has emailed you and they want you to do all these things. They have not mentioned compensation. How does one ask, like, okay, like, what am I being paid? What's the deal here? How do you get around that like awkwardness?
Yeah. I mean, again, just like reiterate your enthusiasm, have like a quick touch point of your value prop, like the excitement of what you want to create for this content, and then be like, this is like, is this something that you would want to work on a paid capacity with? I always like trying to figure out like an open-ended question in which that they're forced into more than just a yes or no answer to ask that. And another standard is like, do you have a budget for this? If you're not sure about just sending over a rate, which I like to open with a teaser opening question before I just send over a rate or assume, just to start that conversation, because, marketers are trying to manage their budget. They're trying to manage expectations from the brand's perspective of like how the ROI of this campaign is going to go. And they just want to have like an assurance that you're going to be a good bet. So it's always, how do I determine like, I'm going to make good on this with sponsored post, and here's some other data that I can send along to confirm that. So I would just ask, do you have a budget? Would you be interested in partnering this on a paid capacity? Figure out a way to ask that and not just a yes or no answer, and start that conversation now. And if they say not right now, be like, you can always work that into an opportunity where you say, okay, well, not now, like, here's what I would be willing to do right now with you, or here are some other things that I think would be really impactful, and how to structure that for future campaigns when you do have a budget. So it's just up to you about, if you want to take on that work right now at that point.
Totally. Mindy Koo asked, and this is kind of what we've been talking about and touching base on, it's like brands usually are generous with gifting. And then when it comes to asking about their budget, how to get the conversation on the table again. And I will say, this is something that I am personally also struggling with. I have found, and I think it's also just from talking to other blog friends, there's definitely a threshold of, I think, follower count that a lot of brands are looking for, which is so frustrating because it doesn't correlate to an ROI at all. And so you do have to bring the data. But like I have found, I work a ton with Madewell and Cezanne. They send me free stuff all the time. It's great. I convert really well. I make a ton of money with my affiliate. And then once I go to ask about, are there any upcoming campaigns? I would love to start working with you guys on a paid capacity. Like getting that conversation started, you just kind of have to keep bringing it up, but it is a struggle. And sometimes I wonder, is it just because it's just the follower count? And like, what would you do differently when you find yourself kind of like in a cycle of just being gifted constantly, and they're kind of like, okay, well, she's just posting about it all the time, so why would we pay her? Like, should I just cut them off and be like, I'm not posting you anymore until you pay me? That's, I think, a big struggle with myself and other influencers too.
Yeah, I believe it's an industry struggle, right? Like, there's always going to be someone willing to work for free. But there's not going to always be someone who can consistently deliver those results. So I think that is that time where you say, like, I'm going to have to put this hard boundary up, and like, do I love the clothes enough to continue working for free and having this relationship? Or is it time that they pony up because I have spent, $7,000 on photographers over the last 5 years with all of this? And yeah, the affiliate is great, but it would be nice to have more than that. Again, just being able to have the data at hand of like, I've literally driven $60,000 in affiliate sales to you guys over the last 5 years, and you've given me $400 in clothing or whatever it is. And, put the onus on them to see like the disparity in what you have given versus what you are asking, right? So if you've driven $20,000 in merchandise, but you're like, I would love to do a very intentional story, blog post, Pinterest thing that'll live in evergreen capacity here. I want it to be sponsored. And here's my rate. Just being able to have that, like, here's my rate of $20,000. Here's what I'm asking of $1,500. It really doesn't seem like you're asking for too much. And so maybe if they say no again, like maybe they're not going to be the best brand partner to try to get those campaigns from.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes you have to face the reality that some brands are just not going to pay someone who has 20,000 followers and they're only working with people with 200,000 followers, even though they don't wear the brand, which is a harsh reality in this industry. I do like the idea, and this is something that I need to do. I like that you suggested this, of like just throwing it out, like, I want to work on XYZ. And I think that's it too, is I think a big part of getting paid partnerships is pitching a really good idea. Like, it's not just, I'd love to work with you guys. It's, I'm working on this one blog post that's going to be about XYZ, and I see you guys have an upcoming collaboration with so-and-so, and I think it'd be a really great fit. And based on previous sales, I know this will convert really well. And so that takes a little bit of effort to like gather the data, come up with the idea, but that is going to be usually more effective than, just, I'd love to work together in a paid capacity. But I do think always like touching base with these brands and also showing how you are styling their stuff or are covering them. It does help to put your name in the hat more frequently, but it's still never always a guarantee. And it's just the reality.
Yeah, I will talk like a quick example from like last year is I was working with cake bread sellers in Champaign Taittinger, and we were going to do a one-off, but then I was like, man, this was so great. Like, they paid me my rate. There was hardly any back and forth. The partnership was so awesome. They enjoyed like how quickly I was able to respond and produce content. And so I like, right as I sent over my metrics from the previous campaign, I was like, I had so much fun. This was really great. My audience really responded well to this. I would love to produce more for you guys. here are my 6 ideas for the rest of the year of how to work your brand into content that I'm working on, right? Like I went into like real good detail and I did really solid brand research of what they had done in the past and how I could put my spin onto it in a relevant time frame. And they agreed to 4 out of the 6 campaigns.
Amazing.
That was an additional like $8,000+ that I
Oh yeah.
get just from spending that 1 hour researching their past partnerships, researching their past campaign trajectory, researching the type of content that they were looking for, and sending that over right as I sent the campaign metrics, because they're going to have to read my whole email once if they want to get to, you know, how the campaign performed itself.
And that's also another thing is I think it is leaning into the things that are working, like follow the money. If XYZ brand may never pay you, but they're going to gift you, great. If there's a brand that is paying you, really lean into it and figure out new ways that you can work together and expand, and maybe move it from a one-off partnership to a 6-month partnership so that you don't have to worry about always securing new like contracts and stuff. So that's always a great idea. So now that we've got a brand who's maybe interested in working with us, let's talk about how to negotiate the rate and how to use #PayMe to figure out what exactly I should be getting paid for all of this work that I'm being asked to do.
Yeah, negotiation is absolutely an art. You can take full-on courses about it. People spend their entire life like perfecting it. It's something that I'm working on every single day. So just know that like no one's good at it in the beginning. And if you're struggling with that, like don't worry about it. I do see a lot of feedback from questions that we have everyone submit that like brands don't care to negotiate, and that's not really true. Brands are just strapped for time, right? The number one thing that they don't have enough of is time to staff all of these campaigns that they're working on, which is why they continuously pull from like influencers who are already in their Rolodex, because when they go over their time usage, they are cutting into the talent budget itself, which means that their overall ROI for the campaign goes down with every negotiation that takes too long. So negotiation tips: never start with your final offer first. You're not going to want to say my bare minimum for this project is $500, but in reality, when it is $500, they're going to be like, well, we can go lower.
Right.
You're trying to meet in the middle. And what I love about our tool is that like, if you're in this live negotiation period where, you know, they're like, okay, well, for all of these different campaign deliverables, we want two Instagram posts, stories, blah, blah, 12 months of whitelisting, et cetera. You can toggle with all of the features we have in the calculator at that moment to get to a price that works for both parties, right? They're like, well, instead of your $750, we could do, you know, $600. So like, what levers could you pull back to negotiate that rate at that time, right? So like maybe you reduce the whitelisting, maybe you reduce the content ownership, maybe you reduce the way in which you produce the content. And you're like, well, if you don't want to pay me my full rate, I'm going to produce this a little bit more lazy and do it on my smartphone instead of my professional camera. Because everything in these deals is negotiable. The time frame in which they pay you, how they pay you, the campaign deliverables, and the best advice I can give you is if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no.
Right. And I can also say, I think people are also nervous to ask for more because they think they'll be like, no, we'll go with somebody else. But usually that's not the case because they've already kind of vetted you out and they already kind of want you. So very rarely has a brand said, oh, never mind. Like you just have to kind of be like, my favorite term is to always be like if they proposed a rate of 1,000, but I really charge 3 to 4, I'll say, I typically actually charge 5,000. I go a little above. And we meet somewhere in the middle so I can kind of get to where I want to be. And so that is my favorite way personally to be like, let's just meet in the middle. Like, what can we do? And then usually from there, you can, as you mentioned, like pull the levers, which is what we've been doing for years. It's like, okay, well, let's scale back this and that. I think the best things to scale back are the whitelisting and also the image rights. Those are 2 things that like can really add up really quickly. And also like swapping something for, instead of maybe an Instagram post, maybe Instagram stories instead, and just kind of like figuring out what works for you, but always ask for more, always. And it almost always works.
Yeah.
I really can't think of a time. And I also kick myself. Sometimes you get really excited about a brand and you're like, well, I just want to work with them. And so you just say yes right away. And I personally just recently did this and I'm like already kicking myself because when they say, okay, that quickly, you're like, well, I could have gone higher. So
Yeah,
you always want to always be asking for more, always.
right. That is 100% me because I agreed to a rate for speaking at a conference and I'm like, I could be charging four times as much as I actually asked. I was just like, oh my God, someone wants me to speak on stage. How exciting. And like whatever rate they threw out, I was like, this sounds good. And then I went to go speak at something else and they paid me like twice the rate for half the time and not in person. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that I could ask for more. I just kind of forgot.
It happens to the best of us, let me tell you. But also like keeping your, I will say the reason why I did not push back on this recent campaign that I just got is because I am a little hesitant personally on what sort of ROI I can provide for them. So it's also something to keep in mind. Like this was a brand that wants me linking directly to their brand website. And I just know that a single brand retailer doesn't convert as well for me than like a Nordstrom or a Bloomingdale's or whatever. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just leave it at this because I'm not sure if I'm going to sell a lot for you. And so I don't want you to be fully disappointed either. So yeah, you always have to be asking for more though. I think it's crucial. Even if they propose the rate that you are happy with, ask for more.
Yeah.
Well, why not?
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. Like if they're coming to you, they've already gone through a vetting process. And that did remind me of something earlier. Like when people are coming to you and it is a paid opportunity, it's always great to ask them how they found you, right? So like you want to replicate those channels as much as possible. So maybe they're saying, oh, we heard you on a podcast, or oh, we searched Atlanta blogger hashtag in social media and one of your posts came up. We liked it because of XYZ reasons. Like get more of that feedback so you can really champion that for future opportunities too. That's a great way to just put those brand deals on autopilot and like bring that right into your home.
That's a great tip. I have never once asked anybody.
Oh, I ask all the time, like, how'd you guys find me? And they're like, oh, we were searching blah, blah, or whatever. And I was like, I cannot believe that you found me in the sea of people, but that's amazing.
Interesting. I've got to start doing that more. Samantha asked, what about rates for UGC? So UGC is that user generated content. I have some strong feelings about this because I have noticed with the rise of TikTok, I have been getting emails from brands who want me to create a 60-second video about this was actually a cracker brand that just emailed me. They're going to send me a box of crackers. They want a 60-second video. They want the raw footage so that they can use it on their platform. And they were not going to pay me.
Yeah.
So that is UGC, where they're going to get the raw footage and use it themselves, or like UGC is also like whitelisting, where they will basically sign in on your account and create your story or whatever under your name.
Oh, I've never had anyone like propose that.
Well, like I guess not logging in, but like that's just how like whitelisting, like where you give them access.
Yeah. Yes. As far as pricing for UGC goes, I would say it's always worth asking to get paid for something. I mean, I've seen, again, totally agree. TikTok has cannibalized the cost of content because quote unquote, everyone's a content creator now, according to that app. And no shade to TikTok, but it's just the ease of people being able to be like celebrity status has really shifted the way that marketers think about like compensating people for their time because they see it as such like a passive activity now. Again, it's your we do have industry standards, and so every company kind of pays differently based off of the size in which they are for these content assets and what they plan on using it for, right? So videos are worth way more than static posts, but like anytime that you're sending over something in perpetuity and you're spending time reviewing and filming content and then sending them raw footage, I would just respond back to them and I'm like, hey, it sounds like you're looking for a content team. I'm like, I don't provide services that are not edited or something, or if you do want this kind of thing, it's going to cost XXX. And you can use our calculator too. We have a UGC portion on it for our membership. But on average, it's like anywhere from $50 to like $3,500 per content asset. And it just really depends on what they're asking for. but never give it away for free. I would always ask for something, and especially put it back on them, saying like, I am not a content team. I'm not here to like make you free content that you can then run in ads and like drive, $70,000.
Right. And that's basically what's happening. I think a lot of people maybe don't fully understand like what whitelisting is and why it's so beneficial to the brand. They are basically running an ad with your photo. So they are no longer hiring a model, a stylist, a makeup artist, photographer. Instead, they're just using your image and they're generating tons of revenue because they've got the money to put behind that ad, and they're going to make a ton of money in sales from it. And so you should be compensated for that, because it would cost them in the olden days a lot of money to create that sort of deliverable to put on in like a marketing or ad campaign. So you do need to be charging for that and not just doing it in exchange for a box of crackers that were $5.
Yeah.
I will also say Kathy actually gave me a really good sentence to use in these types of, sometimes I can be a little bitchy when I write back, because it's just really frustrating. I'm like, just to be clear, like you're asking me, I like to like kind of throw it back at them. Like, just to be clear, like you're asking me to do all of these things in exchange for complimentary product. And I'm always like, unfortunately, I do not work for free. And Kathy told me that what she says, and I started using it too, is it would not be fair to my paying partners to offer this service to you for free. Like, it's just not fair. I've got other brands who are paying me for my time and my work, and I should be being compensated by you too. And it's just not fair to the people who I'm charging for you to just get it for free. Like, that's just not right.
Yeah.
At all.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's see. I think we've got, let's see. Brands mainly. What do you do when brands are really only offering affiliate stuff?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, in the beginning, depending on where you are in the trajectory of your creator career, I know we had quite a breadth of people from, 1 year just starting out all the way to like 15 years. These opportunities always come around because to me, it sounds like they're trying to do everything at once and trying to drive as much value from influencer campaigns and don't have the time or the budget devoted to managing it on a personal level, right? I would say if you are already a part of an affiliate company, and they like Reward Style or something, and you have some metric, or Reward Style, Shop Style, whoever, and you have some metrics like saying like, I am a super converter for Sephora, and like if you have any sort of data that says like you're producing 10x of what your normal conversion rate is, you probably have some leverage there to go back to the brand and say, I would like to work out some sort of like special affiliate. But those just affiliate requests that come into your inbox are what I kind of flag as like a little bit more professional spam. I don't normally engage with them.
Yeah, I feel like there's also a fine line, if you're already using the product and talking about it, and they can offer you this like really great affiliate commission, and there's also no strings attached to it, then like, fine, I'm cool with that. But I think it's also reading the terms. So there's a platform called Grin, which extremely frustrates me. It's a way for like brands to reach out and be able to provide gifted product, and you like sign up, select your products, and then you agree to their terms and conditions. And if you read their terms and conditions, you are signing away the rights to any images you create with a hashtag or tag of their brand. So again, that's something you should be charging for, because your images should be compensated if they're being used in perpetuity, forever, and wherever they want to use them. And so the Grin platform has that built into their terms of service, and it is super predatory, and I absolutely hate it. And so I would highly suggest people to push back on it. Some brands, when I have pushed back on it, have taken it out of their specific terms, but when you really read the fine print, you still have to agree to Grin's terms of service. And in the Grin terms of service, I think Grin even gets access to it. So it's tricky. And honestly, what are you really gaining out of it? It's usually not that better of like a commission. Not to like spotlight this brand, but I will. Merit Beauty did that to me. They did like the whole, we'd love for you to sign up, we'll send you a lipstick, and then they're going to offer me 10% commission. I'm like, well,
it's like 20 cents.
I can use Merit Beauty links on Howl
Mhm.
and I get 30% commission and I don't have to do anything. Like
Right.
they're not asking me to post, they're not asking for any image rights. So like, what am I getting out of this besides an extra free lipstick, which is what, $28? And if I bought it myself with my Howl link, I'll get 30% back. Like you kind of have to figure out like what is really like the benefit of giving away all of these rights to these brands when it comes to like an affiliate. Like you have to kind of know your numbers and be a little smart and savvy with like, okay, well, what is my affiliate commission with these other brands? Is it worth really signing up for this platform? So you do have
Yeah.
to like weigh the benefits and whatnot when it comes to these affiliate platforms. But I would be very, very cautious in what's in the fine print of all of these.
Yeah. And I would say like, I love having a coupon. Like if I love a company and they're like, here's a coupon code, we'll give you affiliate. I just tell them like, I don't want the affiliate. Like if you guys have to manage it and there's a certain threshold that gets paid out, like, I don't know that that's ever going to reach out for me. Like I will talk about your product organically. If you want to send me stuff, great. We'll pass on the coupon code. Totally fine. But if it comes to a point where it's like, I'm now managing 5 different affiliate systems and I'm trying to figure out like, oh, well, maybe in 6 months, I'll finally reach my payout threshold for this, but I don't really have a plan to get there in a non-salesy way. Then for me, the juice is not worth the squeeze.
Right.
And so I just like, believe in you as brand. I love it. Thanks for keeping me on like a partnership basis, but I'm not interested in the affiliate. But then again, that could be an opportunity where you say like, instead of affiliate, would you be interested in putting like paid dollars behind this?
Right. Like forget the affiliate. Don't give me commission. Let me just give me a flat fee of like $300 and I'll promote it in a story because that's to me is so much easier than an affiliate. I also think like there's so many brands. If you're on Reward Style and or Shop Style, you're kind of covered with like all of the brands. So like you really don't need to add all of these affiliate platforms unless you do have a really strong sales revenue with one particular brand, and it would be worth having another affiliate platform to kind of keep tabs on. Like that for me is what I do. Like I use Shop Style, Reward Style, Amazon, and Howl. And for Samantha, Howl is the one that pays like 30% commission on several beauty brands. It's insane.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's ridiculous. It's insane. And then I have
subsidizing it all with investor money right now.
oh, it's yeah.
Take
And
advantage of that if you are new, go.
yeah. And then it's also, I was talking to them about it, and it's also like some brands just they'll do like really short-term high commission so that they can get the like customer contact info because they just want like it doesn't cost them much to have a product, like whatever. But then I have like I have my Cezanne affiliate that's separate, and it's because it converts so well for me, and it is worth having this separate affiliate platform and having to create these links because it does pay a higher commission and it just is better in terms of my bottom line. So you do have to kind of figure out what works for you. Mindy asked, what if you have a brand campaign for a product and brand asks you to bring more sales of the product as showing my performance? It's giving me anxiety since I'm still struggling to do sales on my platform, felt like not generating enough revenues for them. Well, your job is not to sell, your job is to get them to the website. That's always what I tell people.
Right. I mean, there's so little tracking opportunities for you as a creator, like to say like, well, I drove 1,000 clicks, but then, they like 700 of them went to go find like Retail Me Not's discount because they had a better coupon. And then once they click on Retail Me Not, they drop out of my funnel and go over to Retail Me Not. So like, who's to say that you aren't generating sales just because you're not the last click?
Right.
And that's a hard thing to put ownership on you. And I think that's really unfair if that's what they're asking.
I also have recently seen brands be like, well, we'd love to send you product and see how, like, and have you post for free to see how you perform. It's like, it's not about the performance. I'm creating content, I'm building brand awareness, and you're using my platform. That's what you're paying for. The sales are just the icing on the cake. And if you have a shitty website, I can't guarantee people are going to buy it. Like, what if it's a terrible checkout process and like no one buys anything? That's not on me.
Yeah. I will redirect I'll drop this in the chat, but like we wrote a blog post on like how the marketing funnel compares to like how an influencer kind of works, right? So like at the top, everyone thinks that influencers are just for like awareness, right? And it's like this new concept. They're like, oh wait, they can drive sales too. And so now everyone's like, I want you to do awareness and I want you to drive sales. And it's like, you're talking about moving a whole bunch of customers all the way through that marketing funnel really fast, and that's not how it works.
Mhm.
So I'll drop this in the chat for anyone to read and like kind of see, if someone is just doing that awareness campaign with you, which is why they want to like gift and see. Again, that's your opportunity to upsell them and be like, oh, well, actually, I've worked on a similar thing in the past, and this is how it converted. And if you want to tap into my loyal audience, these are like buzzwords that you have to like plug in there to be like, my people shop from my channel,
Right.
and like they trust my opinion, because someone with 700,000 followers who's never sold anything in their life, maybe they have zero trust, and so they're just going to drive a whole bunch of awareness, which will casually turn into sales just by happenstance, but it's not going to actually drive that true conversion event.
Yeah. I just really hate when brands are like, we just want to see how it performs before we pay you. And it's like, did you work a month at your job to see how you perform before they paid you a paycheck? Like, that's not how this works.
Yeah,
at
I've been
all.
doing this for 8 years,
Yeah.
and so I kind of know like how things perform at this point, and here's the
Exactly.
data to back it up.
Yeah, and that's why you should be, we have a KPI tracker in the library, so you can keep track of your sales and have like a good understanding of what your conversion rate is, so that you can throw those, stats out more quickly. Which I think kind of helps you also look way more professional and way more serious about what's going on in that negotiation. But we are at the 50-minute mark. So if anyone has any last minute quick questions and want to pop them into the chat. But thank you, Cynthia, for joining us today. We will be sending out a recording so everyone can watch this back, and also information on how to sign up for #PayMe, because we do have a coupon for TBS members if they're interested in signing up for it, so that you can figure out how to price yourself when you do get a great campaign, which we hope everybody is able to do, and be confident in asking to be paid, because you should be compensated for your work.
Yes, yeah, no, love joining you guys today. And just another like shameless plug for our calculator. What we're showing you in this calculator actually is like live prices that are relevant to brand campaigns that are happening right now. So we are helping you understand and negotiate what is fair for these types of campaign events based off of data that has been submitted to our platform that looks at like what's happening now, right? So you're not seeing prices from like 3 years ago, you're seeing things from March of 2023 all the way. I'll give you a little secret. We really do report 45 days in advance. So you're actually seeing prices that are good all the way up until the end of April.
Oh, interesting.
And if you have a brand who comes in and is like wants to pay you more than that, great, you won. And we'd love to have that data point once you finish that campaign, if you want to submit it to us, so that we can help other influencers price their work better. But if they are coming in like way lower than that, try to figure out a way to get them at least to meet you at a certain rate that makes you feel good.
Right. And that's what we always aim high and meet in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. And then my last final the best price for you is one that you feel good about charging, right? So like we can tell you all day with data about like, what we think you could price, but if you don't feel good about asking that, don't feel uncomfortable and that you have to like position yourself with that number. If there's a number that you do feel better at and you feel more comfortable, fine, work your way up to the number that our rate says. But like at the end of the day, you need to feel good about where you're charging a brand.
I love it. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. Well, thank you so much. So stay tuned for an email for everybody. And if you want to check out Cynthia at #PayMe, so that you can learn more. It's a great platform for resources. We love it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Everyone have a good one. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.